Welcome back,
Welcome.
A&L Nation.
What's up, y'all? Check it out. We're on video now.
We're on Zoom. We're making it happen. We told you we were going to start grinding come June. Whatever it takes, we're going to get you guys some content. So here we are making it happen over Zoom. Blessings coming out of the pandemic. So here we go.
That's right. I never have really used Zoom, so I'm still a student to this. But I think I'm figuring it out.
I'm a Zoom professional. I will every time I'm in class, I will just turn my camera off and flip on 2K or Madden, and I am that's been my schooling experience so far.
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of college students could relate to that.
Guess what my
and
GPA
high school
is?
students, I guess, like any school student. What is it?
4.0.
Oof.
No big deal. So basically
No
I'm
big
a
deal.
genius.
It's pretty close to my high school GPA. No, I'm just kidding.
You're like, yeah, it's like pretty close. It's like 4 divided by 2.
It's only
and
like
I'm just
it's only like 2.1 off. It's not that far.
Yeah, I mean it's only 2 points. Like in the NBA, that's like easy. So
That's right. Speaking of NBA, go Jazz. Tonight is the night where we're gonna
close it out.
Moving on to round 2. I wanted to go to a game, but then I was like, I need to wait because I know they're going to round 2, and I'd rather go to a.
That gets into what we're talking about today. But your thoughts are gonna.
Oh, true.
Your thoughts are going to have an impact on the outcome.
Maybe
right, just a little bit.
Maybe because there's millions, but man, I gotta send them positive vibes.
That's right. Do you want to kind of update people on what you've been doing for the past few weeks? We can get a little personal.
Yeah. So let's see. First, I went to Virginia, and Riley and I went out there to her parents' house, and it was nice because I got to work remotely, so we still made money, but I had a good time out there. And then just been working the past 2 weeks. Been going up to Logan a bunch with family. My almost brother-in-law FA has been in town.
When does he leave?
Tomorrow. But he's been here since like April 22nd, so he's got to spend a good amount of time here, which has been cool. But he heads back to Toronto tomorrow. And then, yeah, we've been doing a lot of stuff up there. My little brother just graduated, so we went and had a party on Sunday. All my cousins came, and I hadn't been with all my cousins and stuff for like a really long time, so that was fun. But yeah, I mean, other than that, Riley got a new job a month ago. So
it's the cupcake place, right?
That's right. They make cupcakes for people who are on the keto diet, so they're keto friendly. Which I guess that's pretty cool. But yeah, she's in the bakery. But so she's doing that just 3 days a week, which is nice. So it's not like overkill, but it's just a good source of income for like groceries and whatnot. But anyways, yeah, man.
Explain a little bit of the life coaching thing that she's doing.
Oh yeah, duh. So Riley started the life. When did she start that? I think like in March, maybe April. It was April. So she started the life coach school. It's look it up, the life coach school. The CEO is Brooke Castillo. She just started.
We'll put it in the description.
Oh yeah, bro. Link below. You know what I'm saying? We got to get better at this technology thing. But
I'm gonna make a note of that so we don't forget.
Yeah. But anyway, so Brooke Castillo started this company to certify people to be a life coach. So I mean, it's an education, man. She's putting in the hours, the class hours, the homework hours. It's a 6-month certification program. So October she'll finish.
Wait, it doesn't take 4 years?
No. And she's only 19, so you don't have to be, because a lot of people were telling her, why would anybody want to get advice from someone who hasn't had, like, why would anybody hire a life coach who hasn't had a life yet?
Right.
And I'm like, well, because that's not what life coaching is. Like, life coaching is really misconceived to like what it actually is. All it is somebody to help show you your thinking and show you that, hey, you could think differently to create different results in your life, but you don't have to. And it's not advice per se. It's really just to bring awareness. That's all life coaching is. Like, people think it's like, oh, it's people who only think positively and they act like nothing bad happens. Like, no, that's not what it is. It's just to help bring awareness. It's exactly what psychiatrists do. It's exactly what clinical psychologists do. Um, but just on a scale where we could do Zoom meetings. Oh, is my microphone working?
Yeah, I can hear it, but it's
You
also
can still
on
hear
my
me?
phone. It's on my phone. So do
Shoot.
you want to?
This might have not been working, bro. It just stopped because
Hello, hello.
okay. Okay, so it's working now, but my doohickey that
The dongle.
because the dongle for the MacBook, because the MacBook doesn't have a USB port on it. You have to have like a doohickey. So I have a doohickey to put the USB thing in there, man, but it's not. It freaking is breaking, so it'll like slip a little bit, and then the connection will be lost if it just moves like a tiny bit. So it might have lost the audio for a little bit, but only for like a few seconds, I think.
Okay.
I guess we'll see. I'll keep an eye on it. But anyways, yeah, the life coach school is going good. It's cool. She has her class tonight actually, but it's cool. Like her group has women from all over the country, so it's pretty fun.
Yeah, I'll probably share a little bit more about my experience just as we're talking about the topic that we want to get into today, just because Riley just texted me and she's like, hey, can I need to do someone like help them like practice. I don't know what it's called, like just a
Yeah,
practice run or whatever.
they have to do a recording. Like they have to do three. So you were one of them. She has to do two more before the end of this month and submit them to her teacher.
Yeah, so I was like, yeah, sure, whatever. I really didn't know what to expect, but I was like, oh wow, like she literally didn't give me like any advice. It was just like, hey, here's what your thought process was. Here's how that affected the outcome. You choose what you want to do with that information. I was like, oh, okay, like that's like it's literally like it's like teaching people how to fish instead of just giving them fish. So I thought it was like
Yeah,
actually really
yeah,
cool.
for
So
sure. So do
yeah.
you just want to get into it right now, or do you want to give a little life update, bro? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, my life is basically the same. I finished out the semester at Dixie State. I got A's in all my classes, so that was exciting. Got 100% on my math final, biggest miracle of my life. Um, I finished teaching this year in seminary at the high school I was in. I'm really sad because I found out I'm getting transferred to another high school. It's like missionary transfers, man. Like
Oh,
it just like
dang.
tore my heart out. I was just like so sad. Like so anyway, I'm having a little bit of a tough time with that. Like I've gone to my first two like whatever like council meetings with the staff there, and I'm just like feel like I'm meeting a whole new ward and a whole new companion.
Yeah,
I'm like I can't do this. I just did this for 2 years. Like you got to keep me in the same
it's gonna
place.
be a weird like
Just
change,
transition.
like getting used to transition. Yeah, that's the word I was trying to think of.
But I think that's just kind of how seminary teaching is like you get moved around like every like 3 to 5 years, which is like kind of makes me not want to go into that professionally because like I don't want someone else to kind of control where me and my family live, but I also don't fully understand how it
Yeah,
works. So, but so
yeah.
I'm doing that. Still trying to get married. Do you want to see some? I won't use names yet, but I'll be right back. Um, so I I went on a date last night, and I'm pretty creative. So I was like, okay, this is what we're gonna do for our date. So we're gonna paint self portraits of one another. So
Ooh,
that's pretty creative,
dude,
right?
that's like and that's cheap, man.
Yeah, it literally cost me like 10,
Nice,
10 bucks or whatever, and it was like super
nice,
fun.
dude.
So this is what she painted of me.
Dang, bro.
that's, that's sweet, huh?
Looks exactly the same.
I know. I was
That's
like,
pretty good,
that's
actually, for real.
yeah. No, mine is pretty
Was that
bad,
just
but it.
acrylic paint?
I think so. Yeah. So, anyways, that's kind of my life updates. Just trying to get married, trying to have fun, and making things happen. So,
Yes,
and
sir.
watching LeBron freaking choke big time.
Dude, I'm
So
very pleased about that. Trust me.
that was embarrassing. 40-point loss. Are you kidding me? Like
I
that's
am
like
very
not even.
pleased to see
It's
this
like that's like not even trying. Like what? You're professional basketball players. How do you lose by 40 points?
in a
Like,
playoff game, dude.
oh my word.
And my boss is a huge Phoenix fan because that's where he's from.
Okay.
And So typically we just trash talk him in the office all day about how we hate the Suns. But
Yeah.
this
But now
series,
you
we've
guys
all
are
been on
probably
his
cheering
side.
for him.
Oh, no one in the office wants the Lakers to win, especially LeBron. We're like, let's go Suns, because we were scared for a minute. I was like, oh shoot, I don't know if they can pull it off. But after that win, dude, I mean, they're going to be in LA next, but I don't know. I think they can pull it off.
I hope it goes to 7 games just because
I think it
that's
will.
exciting to watch.
I
But
think it will. It'll be in Phoenix, Game 7. But I mean, we'll see.
yeah, it kind of depends
Lakers
on.
kind of struggle without AD, and he's supposed to be out, I think. Anyways,
Okay, let's
sports
get into
talk.
it.
Yes, sir. But yeah, you want to introduce the topic that we've been thinking about bringing
Yeah.
up?
So I again like a lot of these topics, they're things that I wouldn't consider myself a big expert on. I'm not super knowledgeable in them. I've just had a few experiences and have been able to recognize how important they are to be able to implement and to be able to continue to use. And so like I consider Reiss and Riley people that are a lot more knowledgeable in this. And so like I'll probably defer a lot and like ask a lot more questions because like I'm continuing to understand and continuing to understand the importance of this. But we're going to be talking about today how our thoughts affect the outcomes in our lives. And I remember like the first time kind of hearing about this, like it's very similar to like things that we've talked about in the past, like whether it be law of attraction or thinking positive or making restitution with people. Like it's just like kind of these thought techniques and psychological ways that we can control our thoughts, how they affect the outcomes in our lives. So first time I heard about it, that was a long way to say that, but the first time I heard about it, I was like, dude, that's freaking crazy. Like there's no way the things that you think like actually affect the outcomes. I was like, because
Mm-hmm.
there's literally there's no physical connection to, oh, I'm thinking I'm gonna have a bad day today. That it doesn't have anything to do with it. But then like when you start to like break it down and when you start to see it actually happening, when you start to connect the dots, it's like, holy cow, like this is actually something that it's like legit. So
Yeah. So I'm thinking about like so much right now, and I'm like, dang, I maybe should have like organized it better so I could, because I want to keep it really simple.
right.
But like, so first off, I'll say when I was in middle school, we had my mom on this second podcast that we ever did, and I think it was 9 or so years ago. I think this year is her 9 years ago when she first started learning about the subconscious and thoughts and all this stuff. And she went to a Kirk Duncan seminar, and she learned this cycle where it goes thoughts, feeling, actions, results. So your thought creates a feeling, your feeling creates action, because that's what emotion does. It's energy and motion. That's what Tony Robbins teaches. It's an easy way to remember how it creates action. So emotion creates action, and then action obviously creates the result. And a result can create a thought. So it's just a cycle. And so she brought this piece of paper home where she had um, drawn it, I believe, and she put it up like we had a piano, like most Latter-day Saint families in the living room. So we had a piano in there, and she put it up on there. And so like ever since I think, God, what, sixth or seventh grade, maybe I think seventh grade, I just remember like seeing that. So I kind of took it for granted that I knew at least to a degree that my thoughts had at least something to do with my reality. And so, anyways, moving on with the life coach school, Brooke Castillo, she adds another step into there that makes it make even more sense, and that's circumstance. So in the life coach school, they just call it the model, so it's just easy to remember. So it's like your model of life. It goes, there's a circumstance, your thought about the circumstance, feeling from your thought, action from the feeling, and then result from the actions. And so this is where it's kind of eye-opening for some people. Is a lot of people think that the circumstance that they're in, and that can be anything, that can be um, you have a job where your boss is kind of rude. So the circumstance, so anyways, see, I'm trying to explain
We
this
should
simply.
just break, like, just talk about each one
Each
just for
one.
just a little
So we should
bit.
start with, okay, that's a good idea. So starting with circumstance, the circumstance has to be neutral. So when you're writing this out on paper and you're doing a model, is what you can call it. So the circumstance needs to be neutral. It only facts can go in the circumstance line. So a lot of people, when you bring this to their awareness, so say the boss example, they might say my boss is rude. That's not a circumstance, that's a thought about your boss. And
Mhm.
so you have to say to them, well, is that a fact? Like, would every single person in the whole world agree that your boss is rude? And the answer most likely is no. So it's like,
Yeah.
the circumstance is I have a boss. So you have to dumb it down like crazy. So the circumstance is just, that's the thing about life, is there's like an objective reality where, we all have to survive, we all have to eat, sleep, whatever. But then there's the subjective part of reality where it's like we all see the world differently and it affects our outcome. But the circumstance has to be fact, neutral, no emotion tied to it, no thoughts tied to it. I'm trying to think of another example just to help
I
people
remember
out.
doing it with when Riley called and talked to me about it. I was like telling her about a situation I was really frustrated with at the time. I was like telling her about it. I was like, no, like this was a fact. Like this person was being rude and like inconsiderate. And she's like, it can't be that way. Like it's just like this happened. That and anyway, so like she kept like making me like dumb it down like 3 or 4 times
Yeah.
where we had to like go through it. And I was like, what do you know? Like it's a fact. Like this person was being dumb or whatever. And she's like, we can't, like it needs to just be like a neutral circumstance. Like this happened, straight up fact, like that's it. And I think that the powerful part, or the at least the empowering part that brings like confidence into your life, is it gets rid of the blame. Like right off the
Yeah.
bat, very first step, blame gone. You're like, okay, this is, I'm trying to look at this as objectively as I can, so that I'm not like, because like if you were to do it like my boss is a jerk, then as you go through the rest of the steps, you still kind of have that as like the foundation, like the first thing, like, oh, it's still like kind of my boss's fault.
It's a
And so
blame game.
that's what I really appreciate about the first step, was like immediately, like even if the circumstance really isn't your fault, you're looking at every way that you can take control into it. So that's what I
Yeah.
really appreciated about it.
Okay, yeah, you just brought up a really good point. So the circumstances of life are things that are out of our control. We have control over our thoughts and feelings, but the circumstances are just things that are happening.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, I just thought of a personal example I can talk about. So for the past 3 weeks at my job, like I just set appointments. I just call people, call funeral directors, set appointments for our other guys. I get a commission when I set an appointment. If the person holds the appointment and buys our product, I get a kickback commission. So it's like, I want to set appointments. Well, my mindset was kind of like going down a little bit 3 weeks ago. And my sales reflected that. And I got 11 in a week. And like a good week for me, so that's a thought. It's like a good week for me is 15.
Mm-hmm.
An even better one's 20. So it's like 15 to 20 is my aim. So I got 11, wasn't horrible, but wasn't the best. Next week I got 9. Last week I got 6. Just like, and then this week I'm still at 0. So it's like, okay, so circumstance is not, the circumstance would not be um, I'm having, I had a bad sales week. The circumstance would be I went to work last week. It just has
Would
to
you,
be,
would adding and had like 11 sales, would that be a
yeah.
fact
So
that you could say?
if there's a fact,
Okay.
then you can put that in there. So I could say 3 weeks ago I had 11 sales throughout the week.
Mm-hmm.
My thought then could be that's a bad sales week, and then my feeling is, if I think I just had a bad sales week, my feeling, at least for me, see the feelings, it'll be different for everybody, but it might be something like um, kind of down. So not confident. And then when I'm not confident on the phones, then I don't sell well. And then my result is I have a bad sales week. So you see that the thought directly goes to the result. So the circumstance was I sold 11. I set 11 appointments on the week of this date to this date. Thought is I had a bad sales week. Feeling is not confident. Action is because I'm not confident, I don't sell well. I don't sound good on the phones. When people say they're not interested, I say no worries and I hang up instead of pushing through objections. Result is I have a bad sales week. So you see how they link. And so when you
Like
start to
that's
open this
very
up to people,
logical. You're like, okay, that like even like objectively looking at that, you can be like, okay, that makes sense, regardless of if you think this stuff works or not. Like you can logically go through each of those steps that
yeah.
you just went through and be like, okay, I understand how that has an impact in the
Mm-hmm.
results.
And then people will say things, they'll go to extreme examples, like really extreme examples. Like they'll bring up like rape and murder and just horrible things. And it's like, yeah, that's a circumstance and you get to choose your thought about it. And the role of the life coach school or the role of the model, this model is not to think positively about everything. That's not
Mhm.
what it's for. Like all it's for is to bring awareness to your thinking into your life. It's all about awareness. So say someone hits your dog or like runs over your dog. So this happened to me when I was 5. I watched a dude run over my dog right in front of my eyes and he drove off. And as a little 5-year-old, I'm like traumatized. Like I kind of feel like I still have like trauma from that. I'm not even
Yeah.
gonna lie. Cause like that was really traumatic to be 5 years old, have my favorite dog run out into the street in front of me, get hit by a car, and the dude does not stop. Like he darn well knew he hit a dog. I mean, remember that one time we hit a possum and you were like asleep in the back. You're like, what happened? I was like, bro, I just hit a possum. It's like, when you hit an animal, it's not like you don't
Did we
feel it.
find it?
Yeah, we went and found it.
We went and like looked for
It
like
was in the
20.
ditch, bro, because I ran over it with the tire of the truck and it flung it out into the ditch. And it was like raining. It was super dark.
It like flung like 20
Well, this is what
feet.
happened. So
Didn't we
Carter
take a
was,
video of this?
yeah, I have it on my
Okay, we got.
missionary phone. So Carter's in the back of the truck, like kind of zoned out. It's like Sunday night. I remember it was a Sunday night. It was probably like 8 o'clock, dark, kind of rainy. It was in
We
just
might have
north
even
of
been like
Richmond.
heading home to do like the MLC call or whatever. Like
Yeah,
I
we
think we
were
were
we were
like done for the
leaving
day.
because we were up in Glen Allen,
Mhm.
Virginia.
We were like right
And
by where the temple is.
yeah, like literally right on that corner where the temple is being built. And Jackson Brinkerhoff was in shotgun. So you were in the back, just kind of like zoned out. End of the day, driving home, had like a 20-minute drive. And I'm driving, and bro, it was so funny because I don't know if any of you guys have seen like a possum walk out in front of you, but they are dumb. Like they are freaking dumb because so I'm driving, and then this possum, you see him walking out in front of us, and Jackson's like, oh dang. And then he looks at the truck and, I'm thinking, if he just keeps walking, we're not going to hit him. And we're going
Yeah.
like 45. And then he turns. So he gets to the double yellow lines, turns around, starts walking back towards the ditch. And Jackson's like, oh, and then just, and we hit him on the
I
tires.
was like, what the crap was that? I was like,
Yeah. And Jackson goes, oh, dude. And I was like, and so we hurried and pulled over. We went and found him in the ditch. He was well past dead. And I
he
remember we
was
had,
his soul
um,
had left.
yeah, look, I didn't enjoy killing the animal, but it was so funny, dude.
The circumstance was he had passed away.
Yeah. Um, so back to what I was saying, the point of the model and the point of life coaching and the point of self-help and mentoring is not to think positively about everything. It's all about awareness. So get that idea out of your head because people who think self-help is all about thinking positively about everything, they think it's stupid. And I
Mhm.
would too. But when you find out that no, it's all about awareness and personal power, where it's like, instead of me just getting mad, I'm going to choose to be mad. And
Right.
then when you're in that mindset, you're going to get mad carefully because there will be a circumstance in your life where the right thing to do is probably to get mad, but not as much as you think.
Yeah.
So,
Like I
do you have
mean,
anything to add right now?
yeah, no, I was just gonna say like the thing that comes to my mind is like Jesus was literally perfect, but there was an appropriate circumstance for him to go into the temple and start flipping tables.
Yeah, I just
And
read that
so
the other day, actually. Yeah.
and it's like you look at that and you're like, okay, well, I understand that not every single circumstance is going to be choose to turn out and love and give them a hug and tell
Yeah,
them that they're your best
exactly.
friend. And it's just like there are going to be circumstances where it's going to be important to show your passion. It's going to be important to, um, you know, be a little bit more bold, be a little bit more assertive than maybe what you might think a life coach might tell you to do. And so like, because that was one thing that was kind of interesting as I was going through this process with Riley, was just how like we went through it, and obviously like, at least in my circumstance, like I could kind of tell my intuition, and like obviously like I could kind of feel the spirit being like, okay, like this is where you could have been doing better, or this is what you could have been doing
Mm.
better, and it was telling me to think more positive. And so like for me,
Yeah.
in the circumstance that I was going through with Riley, that's what was needed for me. But it was also telling me these are also things that you can do to protect yourself, so that this doesn't happen again. So it was kind of interesting. It was giving me ways that I can think more positive about the situation and act more positively. But then it also was like, okay, like my intuition or the spirit was also teaching me, okay, these are things that you can do to like avoid this situation in the future. So I thought it was cool because it was kind of like the best of both, where I was able to, get the tools to be like, okay, I do need to be more positive about this, but then also like, okay, these are some things that you can do to act a little bit different. So
Yeah. Yeah.
what was the next thing? So it was circumstance, then
Circumstance and then the thought. And so
thought.
this is like where people without awareness are mixing the circumstance and thought. They just think the circumstance of their life is to blame for the way they feel and for their results in life. So it's all about, to them it's just like, oh well, so and so said something mean to me and that's why I'm bitter.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, no, so and so said something to you. You thought it was, you had the thought that was mean and you felt bitter. And then because you're bitter, your actions are, you're less likely to open up to people. You're less likely to help people, and it's like it's just not going to create pretty results in your life. So it's like,
Can I just pose a question? Is there anything more unattractive than someone that is just filled with blame? Like, to me, like it is like one
who
of the
complains, dude? It's, oh
complaining and blaming. Like
yeah,
I can, it's just like, obviously like we all do it. Like none of us are perfect, and like we all struggle with it at some point in time, because we're humans. We're not going to be able to control every single thought that comes through our brain. But like when someone does it consistently and that's like their point of view in life, it is like you don't even want to be around them. Like, and
no,
it's,
no one does.
and like they don't want to help themselves, they don't want to do anything to improve their life, because everything happens to them, and you're just like, dude, I can't even, like, as much as you love that person, like especially when it's a close friend or family, it's like I literally, I love you, but I just can't, I can't be
Yeah,
around
it's
you, or
just
I can't
hard.
help you. So I did, to me, like that's where my I say testimony because it's like I believe this to be true, but it's like
Yeah,
that's kind of where my commitment to like this is has come, is like, okay, I've seen the outcomes of when somebody doesn't do this, and it's like, okay, yeah, you, people need to be doing this.
yeah, for sure, for sure. And so, yeah, the thought is your choice. So that's where you get to choose the circumstances, things that are happening and are out of your control. And then the thought is where you get to choose. That's the first step, where you get to choose your thought. And so a lot of people don't think this is true, and for obvious reason. I mean, when really bad things happen, or if someone says something really rude, it's human nature just to react. But if you can learn how to catch yourself in that tiny little gap between what happened and your reaction, you can choose your thought. And again, I'm not saying that you're always choosing happy things. Like when that dude hit my dog when I was 5 years old, now looking back at it, when I was 5 years old, I did not have this awareness. I was just like, started bawling and ran to my mom and was like freaking out.
Yeah,
But I still have the thought, like, that dude should have stopped. That was mean.
yeah,
It's like, and I choose that thought, and so it's like, that's the cool thing about the life coach school or mentoring or self-help. The more you look into it, it's like, oh, this isn't just some cynical cult where people act like everything's daisies. It's like, no, we realize that life has a ton of suffering in it, and it has evil in it. So you got both. It just naturally has suffering in it, and you have the devil's influence in it. So it's literally like a really horrible place, but there's so much
yeah.
good to be found on it. And so it's like seeing both and having this balance.
Yeah, so the situation Riley was helping me out with was with a friend. We had planned to do something, and they had forgotten about it and planned to do something else. And so like obviously like that like sucks, like when somebody like you plan something, and then like the other person like disregards you and plan something else. And so like I was like talking to Riley, I was like expecting her to just be like 100% on my side, like, yeah, that's stupid or whatever. But she
Yeah.
was like, your thought process. So like when it happened, like obviously like I was pretty mad. I was like upset. And she was like, so your thought was, I think it was like, I can't remember exactly what we decided my thought was, but it was like they didn't make me feel important was kind of like the thought, or like they um yeah, I think that's basically what it was like that's the thought that went through my mind. And so it was interesting because then my reaction to that situation was I didn't make them feel important. And regardless of if that was warranted, because it's like obviously like, well, they did it to me, but it was interesting because I realized that thought that went into my head, like they didn't make me feel important, then portrayed my outcome and what I chose to do. Once like that reaction time came, was I didn't make them feel important either. I just left the conversation and I was like, all right, see ya. Like, and it's like obviously like, was that the right decision? I don't know, maybe. But it was interesting and insightful for me to be like, wow, like that thought that I had immediately that Riley kind of helped me recognize, then portrayed into that outcome of what had happened. It's like, what if I would have been like, okay, like I realize that that's not cool, but trying to like change that thought in the moment to be like, okay, well maybe, just seeing it from a different perspective, it's like it probably would have changed the outcome of that. So I thought that was kind of interesting in my experience with the thought then portraying into the outcome.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Dude, I wanted to share with you, like, so the other day I just started journaling, um, just to like kind of think out loud. So,
Dude, real quick, just a like
yo,
quick plug for journaling. I was doing some family history. I try and do like just a little bit of family history and just every day. I was reading about like one of my grandmas. She journaled every day till she was 90. I was like,
ooh,
that's
dang.
amazing. Like, that's sweet.
Yeah.
Anyways, quick plug.
Yeah, I think everybody, not everybody, but the majority of people that at least I know will say, and me included, will say like, man, I need to journal more, or I
Mhm.
should journal, or I should keep a journal more consistently. And I'm like, yeah, dude, like we really should,
Yeah.
because mine is like pretty sporadic, and it has been for like 3 years, 4 years, and it's like it's just the other day I had, when I lived in Virginia last fall, I had journaled a bunch on my phone on that day, is it called Day One
Day
app?
one.
Yeah, and I went back and read them the other day, and it was so fun because when I journal, typically, it's like I'm literally just thinking out loud, so it's kind of like you're getting into my head. And I was reading some of it to Riley because it was like I was writing down my thoughts of her when we
At
first
the
started
probably at the
dating.
very beginning, right? Yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
and it was fun to look back and be like, dang, like I forgot, like this is, it was fun to see her in those fresh eyes, where when I was journaling it was
Got
like, I
those
really like this
fresh
girl.
eyes.
Yeah,
Never
because like,
seen it before. Have you know that Andy
dang,
Grammer
dude,
song?
that's nice. uh I probably heard it, but dude, I
Okay,
don't know.
anyways.
But bro, it was fun because I was like, dang, like, because once you're married, you're with them every single day, and it's like, they got your back and you got theirs. But it was fun to look back and read parts of my journal where I was like, man, I really like this girl, but like she's young and I don't know, and like things like that. And then like 3 weeks later in the journal, it was like, nah, I really like this girl and like I want to marry her type stuff. Like,
Mhm.
I don't know, it was fun, dude. But
No, that's like I like obviously like I don't my journaling is a little bit different now. Like I do like the self-affirmation questions every day. So it's a little bit different. I'm not like writing about my day, but like going back and reading my mission journals every day. I'll go, like right now I'm doing what I was doing 3 years ago. And
oh yeah.
it's just like so cool to go back and like read and just like see the growth or the experiences that you've been able to have to get you to this point. Just be like I remember reading like the very first couple journal entries when I was in the MTC, like probably like 6 months ago. And I'm just like, dude, like this is insane the amount of
Yeah.
growth that has happened. I'm like, this is not even the same person. Like some
Hmm.
other dude took this journal and was writing for me because
Yeah.
it's not even. I'm like, I miss my girlfriend so much right now. I don't even know what I'm. It's like,
Dude, when I was in the MTC, bro, like I was thinking about it the other day because I was telling Riley, I'm gonna get off on like a small tangent, but I was telling
yeah,
Riley about how, because we were talking about sleep schedules and stuff. Because I want to wake up. We're both waking up earlier now, and just for her job and because I want to make the gym a priority in the mornings. And I was just like, in high school, because she said in high school, I was convinced I needed at least 9 hours of sleep. But now I'm kind of learning that like maybe I don't need that much. And I was like, yeah, on my mission, I thought I needed a ton. And then I went in the MTC and it's like grueling, man. It's like classes, 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 practice, practice, and then like a tiny break and then classes, classes. And then you get home to
Freaking
your
gym
apartment.
time was so
Oh,
sweet.
dude, gym time was like the saving grace. And then you get home at like 10 and you're in bed at 10:30 and then at 6:30 the alarm's like blaring and like me and Elder Heaps always wanted to be in the showers first.
Mhm.
And so we as
The
soon as the alarm would go off, we
showers
were
are
just like
so freaking gross.
yeah, so we would go there first every morning because they were nasty and like we would just like like just like zombies like walk into the bathroom and like take a shower. And Elder Heaps had these big eyes or bags under his eyes, dude, and like
You got all these high
so
schoolers
tired.
that a week ago were staying up till 2 a.m.
Oh, I
like
was
every
staying up till
night.
like 4 or 5 a.m. The week before my freaking mission. And so the MTC just like wrecked me. Like, and there was no caffeine, man. I was just like so tired all
You're
the
like, Mom, send Red Bulls. I don't
Oh,
care what
please.
you got to do.
Oh,
Yeah.
actually, Elder Heaps. I lied. There was caffeine because Elder Heaps' mom sent us Mountain Dews because she lived 10 minutes away, bro. So we would get them the same day. She would come drop it off at the MTC and then they would like, and so we would go to the mail room. Anyways, the point of the story is now I can actually wake up early, but beginning of my mission, it was like hell. Like it was
Yeah.
so hard, man. But yeah, dude, good times.
Anyway,
But a lot of growth.
what's in your journal?
So this is my journal. It's red, kind of. Anyways, so this was this was May 27th. Um, let's see. So the past like month, can you still hear me? Sorry, I covered my phone. So like the past month, I just had May, I had just felt like I was going backwards in some habits that I had upkept and in my thinking. I felt like it was going down and I was just kind of digressing a little bit. And so I wanted to journal to like think out loud because writing is just a way of thinking, a more organized way of thinking, at least for me, because when I'm in my head, it's just like it's so confusing in my head. I'm like, I need to talk to somebody or write because in my head, I just get confused. And so I did a model on myself just to like help myself. So it's like the circumstance was because my thought was I'm in a rut. The thought was I'm in a rut. And the circumstance isn't that because that's a thought. And so my circumstance was I went to the gym once in May. Which is true. Like I looked it up on my app to make sure and I was like, so I could put it in the circumstance line because it has to be fact. So I went to the gym one time, which was like kind of depressing to see. I was like, frick. But so I went to the gym one time. I said 0 prayers like on my knees. Like that helps me to be more like in line and help connect with God. I think I ate like 3 good breakfasts in the morning. And so that was leading me to like get super hungry at work. And then I would go into our snack room, and our snack room at the company I work at is just horrible. It's like donuts and Mountain Dews and stuff. And I luckily at least upheld some of my dignity, but I would eat like fruit snacks sometimes. And the fruit snacks, dude, oh my gosh, the ingredients are horrible and they're packed with sugar. There's like 20 grams of sugar in a pouch. It's ridiculous.
I don't know about you,
So,
but in high school, I would pound like 20 of those Welches like
oh,
constantly.
dude, I was crazy. I would
I don't
be,
know how I didn't get like kidney stones.
I'm glad I didn't. But,
Anyways,
and then I was wasting time. And see, that's a thought, but like I wasn't using time wisely. So these were the things that were happening. And so my thought was, I can't get out of this rut. And my feeling was hopeless. And my actions
that's the
were
next one is thought
thought,
or
feeling.
circumstance, thought, feeling. Okay.
Yeah, so circumstance was, like I went to the gym once. My sales numbers were down at work, and I slept in till like 7:30 each morning, which like that's still like that's sleeping into me because I usually go to work at like 7:30. So that's why that's like because
I
that, I
was
mean,
like,
that's
that
still,
sounds good to me.
yeah, no, like that's still like a good time to wake up. But for me to go to work, it's not. Um, anyway, so that was, and then the thought was, I can't get out of this rut. And the feeling was hopeless. And when I feel hopeless, I sleep in. I barely get by at work. So I don't really try that hard. I just do enough work so I don't get fired, basically. I don't read nonfiction books, which I love, or the scriptures or study them. I don't journal. I don't work out. I don't eat healthy, or at least, I don't try as hard.
Yeah,
I don't pray. And if I do, it's not really
it's not
genuine.
great.
I don't have nice thoughts about myself. That was a big one. And I waste tons of time. So those are the actions. And then those actions create what result? I can't get out of this rut.
Mhm.
And so I
Again,
was
a
like,
very logical way of being
yeah,
like, okay, like I can
it's
see
like,
why
oh,
that's happening.
yeah, it's like, okay, yeah, that thought of I can't get out of this rut made me feel hopeless, made me do all these stupid things, which made it so I can't get out of this rut. And then the longer I live with that thought, the harder it's going to be to get out of the rut. So it's like, I'm going to change this thought like ASAP because I don't want it to be harder. What were you going to say?
I think for me, like this, and like going through that example or going through my own or just like thinking about it, like if you really break this down, you almost know exactly what you need to do to figure it out. Like you look at that,
Yeah.
you're like, oh, okay, like I need to, like, at least in your situation, it's like, okay, working out is something that you're like,
Like
okay, I
that
can
for
change
me,
that
that
easily.
helps me move forward.
Yeah,
Yeah.
or
So,
saying like you said, saying your prayers on your knees or whatever. Like just those things. It's like as you look at the things that you had stopped doing or whatever, it's like, oh, okay, you can almost. It's almost like an equation. It's like, oh, okay, stop doing this,
yeah.
and the outcome changed. So I need to go back to doing. It's not like I think a lot of people think like they need this big cathartic experience to be able to change their life and be able to like freaking go to the mountain with Moses and have them give them their own 10 commandments. And it's like a lot of the times, like I was reading my scriptures the other day and it was like, I can't remember. I think it was in chapter 17 of first Nephi. And it was like talking about Laman and Lemuel and Nephi. Nephi goes and breaks his bow. And like they have this huge like experience of like of faith and of like doubt and just like this kind of like pinnacle moment of first Nephi. And it's interesting because then like right after they have this, Nephi goes and he builds another bow and they get food and everyone's happy. And it's like right after this experience, it talks about how they just continued on the same path that they were before. And I think a lot of the times we think about like we have to have this big experience and it's just going to change our life and put us in a whole new direction. But a lot of the times it's just going to be like go right back to where you were and just keep doing what you were doing. And like what at least like what I'm kind of like receiving insight on now is like that's the same thing in our lives. Like if we're in a rut or we have a really big experience or we have a really hard time, a lot of the times it's not, oh, I need to start like waking up at 4 in the morning doing a million push-ups, like, but it's like just get back
Mhm.
to what you know you need to be doing. And a lot of the time those small changes are over time are going to consistently get you back to where you need to be.
Yeah, it's all the small things. It's just these tiny little micro habits. And yeah, so well said, man. But so I had to choose a new thought, and the new thought I chose, I did this very methodically. I didn't just willy-nilly, like I did a lot of journaling to get to this. But the new thought I chose was I can move forward. That makes me feel inspired. When I feel inspired, I serve my wife and family. I pray, I read, study, write, I journal, I get more creative and I act on my creative impulses. I take care of my body, and that includes gym, eating
Mm-hmm.
healthy, getting good sleep. Like so, and then those actions create the result of I can move forward. I move forward. So that's the new thought I chose. And like you said, I'm glad you said that because it's not this like completely huge change. It's like this morning when my freaking alarm went off at 5:15, I literally laid there for like 5 minutes, like I can't do it, man. And I was like, God, just gonna get out. And I get out and I came out here and I drank a bunch of water and I just sat on the couch and just like was looking at the wall and I was like,
You're like
can do this.
contemplating, what am I doing with my life? No,
Yeah.
just
I'm like,
kidding.
why am I getting up this early, man? And then as soon as I
Are
walked
you really
outside,
taking orders from an inanimate object?
dude, I still think about that
That
sometimes.
needs to be our alarms, man.
I'm
That would
not taking orders
that
to this
would
bed.
that would motivate me. I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna record myself doing that.
Yeah, dude, you should because then I went out, went to the gym. I had a freaking good workout. It was fun, and then I came home and I was like, and it's weird because if I wake up, this is just for Reiss Lindhardt
Mhm.
personally. If I wake up and like don't do anything, it's really hard for me to eat a good breakfast. But if I go to the gym, it's like easy.
Mhm.
It's weird. It's like this weird thing. Like I get home from the gym and I'm like, yeah, I start making the good food and like making the green smoothie. Like it's just easy for me. But if I wake up out of bed and then I'm like, oh, I gotta get ready for work and like eat it. It's just like so hard for me. So, anyways, that's like a
Yeah,
personal example. This is happening in real time. Like I'm
right.
still this thought of I can't get out of this rut keeps coming up and
Right.
it's freaking annoying. And so um between there's
But
in
I
the
mean,
life
it's
coach
been there
school,
for like a month, so it's like you
yeah,
got to work on it to
it's
get rid of it.
exactly. And some people they've had these negative thoughts for years. And people
It's
who
not
think
just gonna happen
thoughts,
in one day.
no, it's not. And people who think thoughts are just this like subjective, abstract idea are wrong because we can literally, you can think a thought so many times and we can do a brain scan and see where the wires have gotten thicker, so to
Mhm.
speak. And so to start a new habit or a new thought process, the strands between neurons are going to be tiny at first, but every time you do it, there's going to be a layer on it. So I'm reminding myself that when my alarm goes off and I need to go to the gym, and I see people at the gym every morning who are there every single morning, same
Mhm.
time, around the same time, every single day, and they've been doing it for years. And I'm like, they have their part of their brain where they do that habit is so solid that it's easy now. But at first, it's hard. Like it's hard for me right now. And so Brooke Castillo of the Life Coach School teaches that if this is your old model and this is the new model or the new thought you want to live, to get there, you have to go across the river of misery where it's really bloody hard because you're trying to think this new thought and it's like your brain is just like, no, we think this thought, we think this thought, and you're like,
Right.
no, like not anymore. And it's a constant battle for a while.
Well, I remember, so like growing up, like I mean, like I still like have the thoughts, and I think we all have a little bit of OCD. But I went to therapy to like overcome that from like probably like junior year to senior year. I was going to therapy like probably like once a week for it. And I remember my therapist kind of telling me, he's like, you know, these thoughts of compulsions of the things that you need to do so that you can find peace or whatever. He's like, they've been going around in your head for years. He's like, it's like water. He's like, every time it goes around, it gets a little bit deeper. The river, the thought river or whatever, gets deeper
Mm,
and deeper and deeper. And he's like, right now, like you got like the Grand Canyon in your thoughts. And he's like, it's
yeah.
gonna be really hard to tell that water to go in another direction. And I was like, crap, like how do I do that? Like, cause it's like it's there. Like that thought has been going around and around and around. And it is really hard to get water to go another direction because it's just like it's I mean, can you imagine trying to get the ocean to go in another, like it's just like it's
Yeah.
been there for years or whatever. And so like for me that like helped me be like, okay, this is going to be really hard. Like I'm going to have to mentally make a decision to start to like dig out in my brain a new direction for that water to go. And it's like it's really hard, and it's not something easy because like what's easy is what it's been doing for years and years and years. But once you like can start to get it flowing in that direction, then you like obviously get the momentum and it starts to create a new path. But like for me, that helped me visualize it like a ton, being like, okay, like that thought is there and it's just spinning around and around, and this is what I need to do to fix it.
Yeah. That's a good way to see it in your mind. And then I would say, like, um, one thing to, I guess, wrap up is a lot of people, it's, this is like something I'm really passionate about. A lot of people will start to change their thinking to more positive and they'll stop blaming as much and they'll take more responsibility for their life and for the way they feel and things like that. And they will say this feels weird and I don't feel like myself. So those
Mm.
two things people will say all the time, and that is the wrong way of thinking about it because First off, I mean, if you get deep, it's like, who are you anyways? You can be anyone you want. But the reason it's incorrect thinking is because it does the reason they say that is because it's unfamiliar territory.
Hmm.
So it's not weird, and it's
It's
not that you're
uncomfortable.
not. Yeah, it's unfamiliar, which is uncomfortable. And so like missionaries would come out on the mission and they would start seeing these changes in themselves that were positive changes, and they would say things to me and you, oh, I don't feel like myself. I don't want to get too deep into these obedience habits or things like that because I don't
Yeah.
want to change myself. And I'm like, no, 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 no. You're experiencing something new, therefore it's unfamiliar, therefore it's uncomfortable,
Hmm.
therefore you're thinking, I don't feel like myself. And then what? You're going to go back to what's familiar, that big whirlpool of who you were in high school. It's like, you guys, let the change happen. Like, it's going to be unfamiliar at first, but then once it becomes familiar, this positive thinking that you have, then the other side, the old you, is going to be weird, and it's
Yeah.
like, that's the right way of thinking about it. So I just wanted to make sure that was brought up.
Yeah, the thing that just keeps coming back to my mind is I just remember there's this person in one of the wards me and Elder Lindhart served in. I don't even know if you'll I don't remember his name, but he was just like that guy. I think he was in like Elder's Quorum, and he just was always like slumped down, always looking at the ground, and he was just like you could just tell he was super depressed. Does that ring a bell? Like, we went to his house one time and it was like it was just like weird vibes or whatever. Anyways, like I just remember like thinking like obviously it's a pretty extreme example, but I was like, for his whole life, like as we got to know him a little bit more, like he struggled with depression, he struggled with, negative thoughts. And it was just like you saw that water had just been going around and around, and it was affecting him physically. Like he was always looking down. He was always, thinking negative. You could just tell he wasn't happy. And it was just like, I don't know why this is like coming to mind, but it was like for me a big testimony builder, like fact strengthener, whatever you want to call it, of like if you don't get a hold of this, like it can like affect the way that people see you and the way that people interact with you and the way that the opportunities that you're given. Like if I were an employer and I see that this guy and I see another guy that has control of his thoughts, and I'm like, I'm not going to hire that other dude. Like, and the only difference is their thought process, but it affects them physically, mentally,
Yeah.
socially. And so like for me that was like a huge like, not, and obviously like, there are chemical imbalances. It's not like just completely like always our fault for these thoughts and
Hmm.
things like that. And so, but yeah, that was just for me like a kind of a one of the eye openers to kind of this like importance of this.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And side note about like the depression thing, like you said, um, because Brooke Castillo of the Life Coach School will get that question a lot. Well, what about depression? Can that be a circumstance? And the answer is sometimes.
Hmm.
Sometimes it's really, really subjective, and it's really hard, and it's 100% case by case. But sometimes somebody, the reason they're depressed, it could be 100% because of their thoughts.
Hmm.
But another person could be like, no, their brain is seriously screwed up, or you know
Could
food,
be a
which we're
mixture.
not going to get into. It's like people who, the way people eat nowadays with all these food additives, are destroying their gut, which the gut creates like 80% of the serotonin in your body. And so it's like, if your serotonin levels are down, then you're going to get depressed. And so a lot of people are getting depressed nowadays because of that. And so it's like, can anxiety or depression or these mental illnesses go in the circumstance line? And the answer is sometimes. Sometimes not,
Hmm.
sometimes yes. It's very, very case by case, very subjective. um, but I would say to most people, unless you're dealing with suicidal thoughts, or you've had depression run in your family, if those are the cases, then go try like antidepressants like ASAP. But I mean, if you're if you're just like been thinking crappy thoughts, man, try that first. Like, start thinking better about yourself, and really you're gonna have to try consciously and very hard. And it's better if you have a friend to help you to stay accountable to. But it's like, don't just resort to the pills, because the pharmaceutical
That's
companies would love your money,
it's like
man.
route. And like it's
Yeah.
like for me, like I'm going to physical therapy right now. I'm like, dude, I would so much rather just take a pill and be fixed like right now. But it's like that's not going to be a permanent solution. That's just putting a band-aid on it. And I believe it's the same thing a lot of the times. It's like I I take anxiety medication right now. It's on a super small dose. I don't know if it works or not. So
Mm-hmm.
that's a whole nother issue. But it's like, but I also do a whole lot of thought work. I do a whole lot of um, things like that. And it's a lot harder than just popping a pill every day. I'm like, and
It's
so
a
it's
it's
just like
a
kind of,
it's a
yeah.
big lifestyle change and takes a lot of energy,
And
but
I think that's
it's
why
worth
people
it.
don't want to do it because it's hard. But
Yeah. Yeah, for
so,
sure.
real quick review. What are the, I don't know why I can't remember the 5 steps. It's
Circumstance,
circumstance, thought,
thought,
feeling.
feeling, action, result. And obviously, a lot of times the result can trigger that thought. And then it can, if that's a bad thought, then it can get into this vicious cycle where that whirlpool just gets deeper and deeper and stronger and stronger and stronger and stronger. So it's like, dude, like stay aware so that you don't ever get sucked into that, because it's going to be a lot easier if it's just a little baby whirlpool and you can turn it around before it gets 10
Like
years down the road.
when you're at the lake and you just make like a little like thing in the sand and you're like get the waves come up into it or whatever. It's like
Mm-hmm.
get it while the thought's there and not like the when it gets to be the Grand Canyon and you got to do some demolition
Yeah,
thing.
exactly. Like get it now. Um, I would say get it before you're 30, because typically the psychological literature shows that once you're in your 30s, that's kind of when your psyche starts to solidify. And that doesn't mean you can't change. Like, that's not what that means. It
Basically,
just
you're
means it's going to
dead.
be harder. Like, it just means it's going to be harder. So it's like, do it when you're in your 20s, man. Like, this is the life. Like, we're still kids. Like, let's do it now, you know? And so, and it's not roses every day. It's tough, and there's obviously bad stuff that happens, and it's good to have bad thoughts, because without bad thoughts, there's without negative emotions, there's no positive emotions. It's as simple as that. So I'm grateful for the times I've felt sad and anxious and hurt and fearful and depressed, because that makes the times where I felt peaceful, contented, love, um, it makes those emotions have color, you know.
Yeah.
So I'm grateful for both sides, and I wouldn't want it any other way. I want both.
Hmm. No, I think like just my final like almost like call to action would be to take that first step of trying to identify your circumstances. Like obviously like it would be good if you took the time to go through every single step, you know, with every single circumstance in your life, but a lot of the time we just don't have time to do that. But we all do have time to be like, okay, like here's the circumstance that just happened to me, just recognize the circumstance, and a lot of the times that's going to be able to help you to catch your thoughts like right away because you're going to be aware of the circumstance that's happening to you instead of being like holy crap, like this is all happening so fast, and you make a emotional decision that you maybe don't want to, instead of being like all right, here's the circumstance, this is what happened, and then you can more fully have the outcome that you want to have happen. So maybe that's more of something that I need to be doing, but I think that's a pretty easy step if you're new to this or wanting to start to take control of your thoughts, is just to start to recognize some of the circumstances that you're in so that you can start to kind of use some of these processes to kind of create different outcomes in your life.
Yeah, it's all about awareness. So full circle, it's not about thinking positively about everything in your life. It's just about awareness. So awareness, awareness, awareness. It's like that's all. It's all about that. Having awareness in your life so that you're not taken by the undertow, you know, so to speak. So, but yeah, man, this was fun to do it with a
That's kind
video.
of, I'm excited to like
So I
post
hope
it
it
and see what it
freaking
looks like.
works.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hope this video works, man. I'd be so bummed if I like hit stop and it was just the audio.
Hey, it is what it is. So we'll the circumstance is that
Circumstance is that the video didn't save. My thought would be
I'm gonna punch my computer and I'm gonna eat my light. So
gonna
that's
eat
how
my freaking ring light, man. Change the color.
there you go. But thanks for joining us, A&L Nation. We will get back to you guys soon, and we're gonna be grinding. So we're excited
You know what I'm
to
saying?
crank out some good content for you guys.
Dude, looking at my little emoji friends. Dude, are you the
But
only one home still?
no, my family just got home,
Just barely.
just barely.
Dang.
So
Tell him I
everybody's
missed him.
home. Okay, I'll do that. I'll go give him a hug.
All right,
Do you,
guys. Wait, what?
I was just gonna say, tune in next time. Hit the subscribe button.
Yeah,
Stay tuned for some big updates.
yeah, I was gonna say it took Carter and I 1 hour to figure out how to freaking do this. So like when we have a third person on here, dude, that's gonna be tough. But
We'll
bro,
make
we're
it happen.
warriors. We ain't puppies, we dogs, man. We gonna figure it out, bro.
That's
No
right.
cat, no cat.
There you go.
Anyways, love you guys.
All right, we'll talk to y'all later. Bye.